have here TTArtisan 50mm f2 lens, full frame lens. Let me tell you what I think about this lens, image quality, focusing, and how this lens is stacking in street photography by day, by night, and so on. Let's talk about this in this video now. Hi there and welcome to my channel. My name is Tudor Matescu and I like to talk on my channel about photography gear, photography tips and tricks and all things related. So if you are in content like this, please subscribe now for more content like this. When I saw this lens launched by TTArtisan, I've said to myself, wow, this is a game changer. This is a game changer for the people that are wanting to shoot with a full frame camera, and especially with a small full frame camera like Sony A7RIII, the camera that I have on my radar from some time. Check my review regarding Sony A7RIII, link in the card here. So when TTArtisan launched this lens, I wrote to them and asked them if I can review this lens, and they said of course. They sent this lens to me and I've tested this lens on my Sony A7RIII. So I've tested this lens on a big full frame sensor, a 43 megapixel sensors. I've tested it in studio, in night photography, in street photography, for general street scenes, but also for street scenes or for pictures with bokeh and subject to background separation at f2. And I want to share with you my results regarding this lens and if it's deserving the price. Let's talk about the build quality. When I've opened this lens from this box, vintage box, and I'm really glad they've used this box like on the TTArtisan 26mm f1.4 for Fuji film. I'm really glad they've used this vintage kind of box. I was amazed when I touched the lens. It is built like a tank, full metal build, glass and metal. Amazing. It is more sturdy and more powerful in build quality. I feel it like that compared to 26mm f1.4. So good build materials, good damping of the focusing ring, and as you can see here, I've attached to this lens a lens tab, a lens focusing tab, my last focusing tab. So you can imagine what trust I gave to this lens using my last lens tab for a manual focusing lens. So thick materials, and for putting the cap you must screw on this metal cap, but I like this, I really like it, it's fun, it's easy. You know, the cap will not fall. I've lost lots of caps because they were bumping in my camera bag and I've lost them like this. So I like it. You can add a lens hood, a 40mm lens hood, and you are ready to shoot. You are ready to go. If you will put, like myself, a focusing tab, wow, amazing experience. So build quality, top notch. Now let's talk about the ergonomics of this lens. Well, I like the aperture ring. Again, TTArtisan, thinking artisan, they are really thinking when they are doing manual focusing lenses. You can identify the aperture ring by hand because it has another tactile feeling different from the focusing ring. Nice clicks, and the focusing throw, it is perfectly built for a 50mm lens. So I really love it for that. From infinity to 1.5 meters, it's just this move. So you can immediately focus how you want. Also for close focusing distance, amazing. And with a lens tab, it's working perfectly. And again, I hope you know the price of this lens, very accessible. Let's talk now about a very important part, how this lens is able to focus. I've used vintage lenses, adapted lenses on my Sony A7S, A7RIII, and so on. I don't like the experience with adapted lenses too much because they are old, they have problems, and the focusing scale doesn't match the sensor. With the adapter, you will have a long lens. So this is a pancake lens on my Sony A7RIII, and just imagine how this lens will look on Sony A7C. Just imagine that. So the focusing, it's working great with focus picking. I've used it with focus picking at f2 in studio, at f2.8 by night, f2.8 by night. Crazy. Manual focusing lenses. I was moving, the subject was moving on a 43 megapixel camera, and I've nailed the focus. At f2.8 by night. So at f16, f11, I don't think we need to talk too much, but because this aperture will give you enough depth of field. So excellent regarding the manual focusing experience, by night, by day with focus picking. But also you can bump up the sharpness and the contrast on your JPEG settings on your Sony camera, and you will be able to nail focus on the screen or on the EVF, because the EVF and the screen of Sony's cameras it's very clear, and probably on other cameras like Nikon Z, Canon, and so on, because this lens can be found in all the mounts, all the camera mounts, and you will nail the focus. Also, you have zone focusing and hyperfocal distance option to manual focus this lens. So a very good to experience manual focusing without frustration. When I first tried to use vintage lenses on my Sony A7S, I've got big frustration. I wasn't able to nail the focus. And also other lenses on my Fuji cameras, they didn't have that good indication in focus picking that I was on the right focusing. But I've used this lens again from TTArtisan, check my review, link in the card here, and again I was amazed how good the focusing picking worked with my Fuji camera. And this lens, it's also working the same, great, exactly. So you can rely on the focus picking. So a truly great lens, a truly great manual focusing lens that is helping you nail focus. So now let's talk about the most important part, image quality. Is this lens good at f2 and f16? Well, this was my first thought. Is this lens good or not at f2 and f16? Because at f2 I want to use this lens for portraits, and at f16 I want to use it for street photography, for general scenes. And yes, it's good, it's sharp, it's enough sharp and has enough contrast at f2. Yes, it loses some contrast and some sharpness at f2, but for portraits it's something that you want. And don't get me wrong, it's not losing much. So it's over Minolta 50mm f1.8 lens at f2. It's over it. And also at f16 you have a little diffraction, but not much. And another crucial point is the fact that this lens has a true infinity point. I've tested it, and when I set this lens at f16 and the focus to infinity point, I had all in focus. You can use this lens at f2 with no problems in low light and for portraits. And also you can use this lens at f16 for street photography, but also a 50mm lens can be used at f8, f11 and so on. And from f2.8 to f11 you will have amazing sharpness across the frame. No problems for a lens that is meant to help you have fun, that is helping you to enjoy photography. Of course, you will not use this lens for Vogue magazine, but you can use it because this lens has character. I really like how it's rendering at f2 and f2.8. It really reminds me of my Minolta lens, the 50mm Rockcore f1.8. something between Minolta and Zeiss, I don't know, it's something there with her own characteristics. But also regarding characteristics, this lens will flare. So you really need to order the square lens hood from TTArtisan to get this lens working fine, because it is very prone to flare. But I love the flare. The flare, it is very artistically. And if you will pay attention to the flare, you can get extremely creative shots by night, by day in studio, but it will flare. So this lens is flaring, but with a lens hood you will have the flare under control. And another optical small flaw, but also interesting, is the fact that this lens, it's vignetting. Yes, it's vignetting at all apertures, but the vignette can be removed in post-processing. There aren't big problems regarding the vignetting, but what is interesting is the fact that at f2, if you have a portrait in the sun and part of the portrait it's in the shadows, you can obtain a very interesting effect right from the camera, So I really like it for that. So all it's under control. Regarding chromatic aberrations, I didn't see much problems. Yes, they are there, of course, but it's over my other lenses or autofocusing lenses. Is not bad. It's not something, wow, how much chromatic aberration I will have, I can't use it. No, the chromatic aberration are really very well controlled, in my opinion, very well controlled. So of course in the corners at f2 you'll have some soft corners, but again this is not important, because this is happening with other vintage lenses that are more expensive, and also those vintage lenses aren't working like a new manual focusing lens with the mount for your camera. Also, let's talk about the bokeh balls. I'm not passionate about looking at bokeh balls, but being a new lens, I wanted to address that. And I've made several pictures in the night, and the bokeh balls are very, very rounded and very fine. I like them. So a total usable, sharp, contrasty lens, small, pancake-ish, built like a tank, with an amazing manual focusing system for your full frame camera, or you can use this lens on a Fuji camera also, but you'll have a 75 meters field of view. And another key point that is very important regarding image quality, it's how this lens is rendering the foreground at an f2 aperture. So I've made several tests in the studio and I'm showing pictures, and as you can see, the foreground, it is buttery smooth, so it is crazy. So good bokeh behind the subject, good buttery smooth foreground in front of the subject. So you can get amazing results with this lens, and of course good rounded bokeh balls around the center. I didn't test it, the bokeh balls in the corners. Now you must have in mind that my review, it is made thinking about the price of this lens. So in that price, 65 bucks, and if you add square hood, 75 bucks, you'll have a small dedicated E-mount lens or Nikon Z lens or so on, or Fuji lens on your camera, built like a tank with a strong manual focusing system. Very compact, tiny, it's a pancake lens. Look how tiny it is, very tiny. It is, come on, just think when you will put this lens on a Sony A7RIII or on another small full frame camera. It is at the level of my pancake Fujifilm lens. Crazy, if you are asking me. Regarding the price, the build quality, the optical characteristics of this lens, it is a totally bargain from my point of view. A totally fun lens to use, with great image quality, with great results, very sharp on all the frame. So very usable lens in all the conditions that you can imagine. So in conclusion, I've used this lens in street photography, by day, by night, indoors, in my studio, making tests to see if it is sharp at f2 and at f16, if you will nail focus. So this is why I've tested this lens in the studio to be sure that on the street it's not my fault. I don't judge the image that it's not sharp because I've missed focus, because this is happening when you don't use on a daily basis manual focusing lenses. So this lens, it is sharp from f2 to f16. Again at f16 a little diffraction, but no problem, the image is very sharp. It's very sharp. But at f11, f5.6, f8, f11, you'll have the most sharpness across the frame. And on a sunny day, I prefer to use f11, but also f16. There aren't problems here. So, a totally usable lens for who wants to shoot like Henri Cartier-Bresson. And when I got out on the street, finally, with a small pancake 50mm lens, I was thinking, now I will shoot like Bresson, linking the car here. And yes, trying to shoot like your favorite photographer, it's helping you think and understand how he positioned himself from the subject. It's helping you understand more the photography of your favorite photographer. So this is why I recommend get this lens if you like Henri Cartier-Bresson style, and if you like to shoot a 50mm on the streets, get it, because you'll understand more how Henri Cartier-Bresson synced, and you will have the power to appreciate more photography done with a 50mm lens, because by using a 50mm lens you will start to sync in that field of view, and using a manual focusing lens again will help you more understand this field of view, because you will understand the distance from you to the subject, the distance from you to the background, to the foreground, and so on and so on. Thank you for watching this video. Please subscribe now to my channel, because I will post a second review with this lens where I will talk specifically how this lens it is acting in street photography by day, by night, how it was to make street photos with this lens, how this lens is performing for portraits, for all kinds of details. So I'll post that video, so please be sure to tune in and subscribe now to my channel. Hit that like button, support my channel. If you want to buy TTArtisan, check my affiliate link. Also check my affiliate links from Amazon, check my membership part of my YouTube channel, and support the channel. Thank you for watching and talk to you soon. Bye bye.